There's nothing quite like the smell of virtue signaling in the morning. Today's story comes from outside of the US, and it's an oldie but a goodie and a perfect tale of karmic justice. Back in August of 2017, a couple of vegan feminists decided to do the unthinkable and start a business that relied solely on making sandwiches.
Oh, what a sweet blasphemy!
They named it Handsome Her and apparently only played music written and performed by women, celebrated International Women's Day with day drinking, charged extra for the mugs their coffee went in unless you brought your own from home, and had a wall dedicated to a photo of Michelle Obama.
Whoa!
The decor, which will most likely and ironically be the thing that gets this video demonetized, featured vagina rocks and prints of used menstrual products, while the menu boasted ridiculously expensive items named after Rosa Parks and Australian anti-capitalism activists on activated charcoal buns. They also held lesbian speed dating events.
You do you, girl.
And a particular event titled, "Can You Be a Feminist and Still F*** Men?"
Oh, that's very different. Never mind.
But perhaps the cafe's biggest claim to fame was the way they chose to fight oppression, by prioritizing female customers, offering them special seating, and charging men an extra 18% 1 week every month, all in the name of equality. Their signature sign also included a line about how respect goes both ways. According to the BBC and CNN, the Australian cafe chose the 18% figure based on a 2016 report saying that men earn roughly 18% more in Australia and the US. The report they supposedly based this on, however, no longer exists, and the wage gap myth has been debunked over and over and over, including in one of my previous videos. Even a BBC article about the cafe points out that newer research points to only a 1 to 3% difference in pay once all job differences are accounted for. And this was found true for several Western countries. When critics pointed out that the cafe's practices violated Australia's Sex Discrimination Act of 1984, owner Alex O'Brien told the press that the tax was voluntary. But according to the online reviews on Google and TripAdvisor, that wasn't actually the case. The cafe's manager claimed that this was perfectly okay because men have their own spaces that we're not allowed into, so why not have that space for women? I couldn't think of a single place where men are allowed and women aren't. Women are even better received in men's bathrooms than vice versa at crowded venues. So I did an internet search. Now, credit where credit is due. It turns out that there are places that men are allowed and women aren't. The results were mostly places in the Middle East, holy temples in India and Japan, and a specific water slide in Germany after it caused vaginal injuries in several tourists. True story. Despite that, I don't feel like it's a good justification for discriminating against men. I mean, it is a privately owned company, and so they can do what they want and have their own rules, but it doesn't mean it isn't a terrible and discriminatory business policy. Interestingly, according to some reviews, it didn't even matter if the customer was trans. They'd still get charged the extra tax and get shunned to the back of the restaurant. If the person had been born a biological man or had transitioned to present as a man, they were still charged the man tax, which isn't very inclusive. At one point, the cafe even went a step further, raising the tax to 21% and posting a sign that Handsome Her is an establishment where women reign supreme. But the man-hate went even beyond that. There were several reviews from men complaining that they had been ignored by the servers completely, or else were told that the restaurant had to serve all the women in the restaurant first before staff could serve a cisgendered white man or a Latino macho. You know, I wonder, how awkward was it whenever they shunned a black man to the back after he ordered a Rosa Parks? And yet, the manager told CNN that no one had been turned away or mistreated. Men had been happy to pay the fee, often paying even more than their gender-mandated tax, and the owner claimed that men often traveled from across town just to be subjected to the man tax. The cafe stated that the extra taxes and donations were collected for women's services and later for women's charities, which is admirable, I guess, but if you've been here before, then you probably remember how the forced charity of Panera Cares went. Called Panera Cares is shutting down its last living location. According to founder Ron Shaich, the nature of the economics did not make sense, and the model wasn't sustainable. And in the end, Handsome Her went exactly the same route as Panera Cares. They closed their doors in April after less than 2 years in business. The owners wrote on a now-defunct Facebook post that the reaction to the man tax showed us how fragile masculinity is and solidified the necessity for us to confront and dismantle patriarchy. Though if the tables had been turned and women had become upset about the upcharges for being women, they would have been stunning and brave. The owners were seemingly surprised to learn that the backlash for their practices came not just from so-called men's rights activists, but also men and women in the LGBTQ community. Probably for asking people their biological sex, their "you're not a feminist unless you're a lesbian" events, and their mission to bring lesbianism back into fashion. I did not realize that lesbianism was an accessory.
Ooh, cute purse.
Nevertheless, the owners claimed that they were not closing due to vitriol from men's rights activists, or because they weren't making enough money, not even because their business practices hurt their business. No, they said it was simply because they didn't feel like owning a cafe anymore because they were young and bored millennials. Their final parting message was for the world to take a good look at itself, stop blaming others, and meet each other with open hearts, free of hostility. And then they announced that they were happy to go out in a whirlwind of sad, angry male tears. That is your dose of feminist nonsense for the day. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, ring the notification bell, and check out the partners down in the description as they all help keep the channel lights on. If you want to help support my channel in other ways, you can find me on Patreon and Subscribestar, or give a one-time donation through PayPal or crypto. Until next time, thanks for watching and helping me to spread the message of liberty.